Okay guys, we are on to Unicast communication. So this is section 5 on it. So you've either got the PDF in our OneNote or the slightly more updated one, you've got the link through from Sector. So I'm here, we're having a look through from here. So going through, basically Unicast is sending messages to a single receiver, generally how we communicate on the internet. So the key concepts we're going through here is the Unicast. So you can see we've got definition that we need to get into your OneNote. Protocol, which is our set of rules, and the IP address is what our internet protocol uses as we go through. Then the last thing that we need to be understanding is a data packet. So this has the actual message, but also the address of where it comes through and how we actually get it through. So for us, we're going to be setting up a message that has the header as well as the message in our data packet. So for us, we've got our sender address, receiver address, and what it is, and we're going to be sending that through. So as we go through, you're going to have to spend a little bit more time reading through this, but we're going to just get into actually creating it. So we're going to be creating a program that sends and receives Unicast messages. So I'm basically going to be working through on this activity, and we're going to build it up together. So part one of it is configuring your radio. So we're going to go over to our microbit, MakeCode, and we're going to create a program called send receive Unicast, or Unicast send receive. So let's jump over here. I'm going to go Unicast send receive. Okay, and we're going to create that. Okay, so the first thing that it mentioned that we need to do is make sure that we've set our group. So in this case, we want everyone in the same group. Let's just stay on group 0 for the first thing. So there is our first step. Task 1, we've done that one. So we've set our radio group ID, and now we need to create our header. So we need a sender address and a receiver address and our header. So let's come back over, and we're going to go into and make some variables. So let's go into our variables, and I'm going to make one called my header. And then I'm going to go in and make another one called sender address and receiver address. So now we've got those in there. We're going to set those up in here, duplicate. So now I've got my header, which I probably want at the bottom to be honest, receiver and sender. So let's just check what order they need to be in. So in this case we need to be using text. We'll have a look at what that is. So I need my address to go sender and then receiver. So if we have a look down how that needs to look, we've got sender, receiver, and then our message. So let's go in, and now we need to use the text through here. So we come back over, go into advanced and down to text. So we're going to start by using this little guy here, drag him in, and we're going to set the receiver address. So who am I going to send it to? Is that the order I want? Receiver, sender? No, I think it's the other way around, isn't it? Sender, receiver. So let's just keep that in the same order so it helps us remember. So sender, receiver. So I'm going to duplicate that as well. So I need that in there. Okay, so my sender is going to be me. So I'm going to put that in. I'm going to send, my receiver is going to be imaginary AA. And then I've got my header needs to be a combined of both of those. And while I'm at it, I'm going to make my message variable as well. So I'm going to go make variable my message. So we create that. And we're going to set my message to text as well. Okay, so now I've got text, text, text. My header is actually going to be made up from these two. So I'm going to go back into my text, and I'm going to grab out this join. So I'm going to grab him and put that into my header. So now my header becomes join sender address and receiver address. So go back into my text, my variables, and I'm going to get receiver goes in the second one, and then my next one, sender, goes in the first one. Okay, so now it's really easy to change, and then my message becomes another join. So I grab my text, go back into my join, and now I've got my variable is going to be my header, goes first, and then my message. So even if it's just hello, and now I can adjust that whenever I need and how it needs to be. So there's my first stage ready to go. Let's go see what we need to do next. So going through, I've got my address unique. So something we need to be aware of is we need to make sure my address is different to everybody else's across here. So every person in the class that's doing this needs to have a unique address. So using the two initials, just confirm that we have everyone a unique address. So I've gone through, create it. So now I've got my header, I've got my message at the moment is just hello, and then we want to be able to send it. So we're going to start by setting up the next one. So on sending, we're going to use button A. So let's go over and do that now. Okay, so I'm going to go through and get my input on button A. So I'm going to set that up. On radio, I need to send a string. So on button A, send string, and all I need to put in there is my message at this point. So variables, my message, because I've already got it set up here, don't I? So that's ready to go. Radio string send, my message. Now, sometimes it's nice to be able to add in just a bit of a cue that you've sent something. So I'm going to drop in that I've sent it as a reminder. So middle C, I'm just going to go that one there for half a beat, just so it's saying I've sent it. Okay, so what's the next thing I need to do? So that's set up. I've got my header and my message. Now I want to receive a packet. So now this is where it gets a little bit trickier because I need to be able to split that packet up and work out what the address is, what the receiver address is, and then the rest of the string. So you can see the first two letters is sender, next two is receiver, last bit, and the rest of it is the string. Okay, so let's go through and put that up now. So on here, I need to go into my radio, and on received string is the next bit that I go through here. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to use just a tone as well. So I'm going to go just a high tone to say, yep, I've received a message. But now I need to check because I only want to receive the messages that are for me. So I need to go into my logic, and I'm going to grab an if. So I go in and I'm checking. So I'm going to use, I don't want the text here. I don't need the numbers. I need to compare the text. So see how it's got the little there? I'm going to grab him in there. So what I'm checking against is the substring. So back over into my text, I'm looking for a substring. So grab that into the first part. And the part that I'm checking is the receive string. So that string that I received, I'm checking from 0, or from 2, sorry, because it's the receiver address, isn't it? So I need, my address needs to be the number 3 and 4 coming in. So from number 2 at length 2. And I'm checking that against my sender address. So I go back into my variables, grab send my receiver address from there. So I'm checking that against there. So the more I can refer to it up here, the easier it is. So now I'm checking for that. If I get that, I need to now grab my packet. And so I'm going to compare this across. So my sender address, I could save that if I wanted to, but I'm just going to try and grab the message now. So I've got a received, I need a new variable now called received message, or message received. So the better name that we give it, the easier it is to follow. So now I've got received message. So I'm going to go set received message to, and again I'm going to use that substring, drop that in there, and I'm going to be using that receive string again because I know it's now for me because I've checked it. I'm just not going to get into this if statement unless it is my receiver address. Okay, and then I want it from number 4, and now the length is a tricky one because I want to check the length of something. So I go back into text. You can see length of, I'm going to need that, and I'm going to need some maths here as well. So I'm going to grab my subtraction there. So I'm going to grab the length of, and make sure that goes into the right spot, length of the receive string, and I'm going to take 4 away from that because I know that the first 4 characters are the header. So the rest of that should be my message received. Okay, so from there, I'm going to go through and I'm going to change, I'm going to show the string next. So if I go back over to basic, show text, what does it show? String. And what I want to show there is my message received. So I go back into variables, message received, gets dropped in there. So now what I should see, if I come over here, I'm going to hit A, and we see that extra microbit comes up. If I hit A again, I should see then the message come through. Now we're going to add one more functionality to this so we can count how many messages we receive as well. I'm going to let you guys have a think about how you do that. So using button B, we could create another variable to be able to go through and call it count messages. So then every time we receive it in here, we could add in a different message. So or a different count as we each go. So add 1 to each message as we go. But that is the basics of what we want to be able to do. Have a play with seeing if you can send it to other people. So how would you then change the receiver address to be able to send through to somebody different? Okay, and if we have a look at some of the extensions through here, we can filter. So we can actually confirm the only the person that we want to send it through. So we could actually add in another check. So anyone at the moment could get through from who it's sending. So we might want to actually add another check in here to see whose sender address. If we only want to receive it from one person, we could grab another one and check it in there. But that's the basics of what we want to be able to do. So let's have a look at what the questions are that we need to address. So we've got our definitions. You've been able to identify who you're trying to send it to. You've got the receiving a packet screenshot code, having a go at sending filters. So that one would be a challenge that you could have a go at. If not, that's okay. Then we can see unicast and broadcast, try and identify how they're different. We talked about IP addresses and be able to identify which ones are not. Okay, we should be able to work out how many different we can, how many people could be on our group if we're using 2-letter strings. And then have a consider about each of these, about the size of the data packet header and what that's gonna do. So that's what I'd like you guys to have a go with that. Good luck and look forward to seeing how you travel.